you've called us in your book the explorer race, and you've talked about how we have veiled consciousness. I don't know how many people. I'm sorry. I do this. I start and stop. I want to make sure that I tell everyone Tom has a weekly newsletter that you can subscribe to through his website called The Gentle Way Book, I guess, .newsletter, Tom?
It's it's called the Gentle Way newsletter, but it's a weekly newsletter. It's free, and you can sign up for it on my homepage. But every single one of my newsletters, dating all the way back to 2007, are archived on the website. So if you want to start reading and get the newest. I'm already working on book 2 for Antura, and so you can read the very latest newsletters and sort of work your way back, and you'll read a lot of things like I had a lady whose whole family had been abducted 40 times by the Zetas, and she asked me a lot of questions, and I got a lot of answers that will eventually appear in that book too. So there's nothing is constant. You're always moving ahead, but the book itself will really, truly give you a very, very detailed look at not only someone that's quite unusual, an amphibian, but also another world, and even it goes into even another universe. So it's only. The only restrictions are on what we've been able to figure out to ask, because Antura says he will answer any question, but I have to ask the question. He can't just volunteer. So, as you mentioned, with people going on Amazon, they can read chapters 1 and half of chapter 2, and you'll see I had to ask very detailed questions. I couldn't say, what did you look like? I had to say, okay, how many fingers do you have?
Do you have gills?
Yes, do you have gills? What do your eyes look like? And just what's your skin color? Just on and on and on in minute detail. And that was what he was able to give to me.
Mm-hmm. The reason that I so schizophrenically jumped the train there off the track was I'm looking at my notes, and what I wanted to ask you to explain to everyone who doesn't have the benefit of those newsletters that you send out every week, what is this about moving from the 3rd to the 5th focus, and what does that have to do with this Earth experiment? And I'm not saying yet what's coming up in 2015, but we're going to get there real quickly. Explain what this is about, and what role does negativity play in this whole thing?
Okay. First of all, we can get in a much longer explanation than we need to at this time. But we're involved, our souls are involved in what's called the Earth experiment. And basically, there are billions of other universes out there. Billions. Because there are billions of creators. But no one has been able to work with negative energy. And so the creator of this universe came up with this idea of having an experiment within his universe of human beings being able to work with negativity and somehow overcome it, and it involved veiling us so that we don't know who we are, we don't know where we came from, because we all come from other planets that are taking part in this experiment, and there's just so many things. But what will happen? Well, what has happened is that in 1987 was the harmonic convergence that a lot of people have heard about, and that's where we reached a point where they knew that we would not destroy ourselves again, a la like they did in Atlantis and Lemuria and so forth, and even other civilizations that there are no records of. So we have mastered working with negativity, and that's what we're going to bring to the rest of the universe, starting with the Federation of Planets, which there are 200 of in this quadrant of the galaxy, and they're all kind of worried about this, with us bringing this negativity, even though it's going to be only like 0.2%, meaning we're going to introduce games. Games require negativity because there's a winner and a loser. And so no one plays games. We're the only race in the universe that supposedly plays games. And so they're all kind of nervous about this big change coming up.
I just think that's fascinating. I just really think that's fascinating.
And so basically we were in the third dimension, and also no other society in the universe or any other universe has ever gone from one focus, one dimension to another while everyone was living on the planet. And so we're going from, we just went from like 3.85, somewhere in that range. And as of July, we've been in this energy tube where they can minutely adjust the energies, because it's been described as every single day of this year being the equivalent of a full moon day. There's lots of crazies around, as we can see from everything happening in our lives, with all these people running around shooting up the campuses and everything. And so in July, we will reach 5.000, the very bottom of the fifth focus, or the fifth dimension. And these other societies in the universe, I thought they would be at 5.8 or something like that. They're stuck down at like 5.34, 5.39, in that range, because they haven't been able to increase their vibrational levels. They've gotten stuck at one level, and we're going to shake things up. We're going to be the catalyst that's going to get everything moving again.
And all of this hinges on this skill that we have on dealing with negativity. And one of the things I read in your book that just I got such a chuckle out of, finally, when you said, what is it everybody on these other planets does with negativity? Tell them, Tom. What do they do with it?
Well, Antura says they sort of sweep it under the rug. They send it away. They just don't deal with it. It's, we don't handle that. And so they're amazed that we've been able to handle, because we've been up at like 50 or 60% negativity or whatever. And now the negativity we're working with will slowly go down, and has already started minutely going down. So in the hundreds of years to come, the negativity, I think, will go below 25% or better.
Well, that's certainly very good news. Now, you're talking about July of 2013, which is not that far away.
Exactly.
And something else you mentioned in your book that you've gotten from Antura is coming in late summer or early fall, I guess right after this point in time that we reach that fifth dimensional focus. Can you tell everybody what that is?
Well, actually, I've been told that it's sort of late fall.
Okay, late fall now?
That's been the best that I can understand now.
Okay.
But in late fall, if you perhaps have noticed, not too long ago, there was a Russian premier by the name of Medvedev, I believe his name is, and at the end of some type of conference, he was supposedly speaking off the cuff to some reporters, and supposedly he didn't know that the mics were still on, and he said, "Oh yes, we have files on alien contacts," and I was told that was really kind of like a trial balloon that they sent up to see, well, what's going to happen. Are people going to get very fearful, or what's going to happen? Well, nothing happened. People just got more interested. What? We got files? And so I've been told, and of course, again, when you get into humans, humans can change their mind and all this other stuff, but they're supposed to release their secret files in Russia about their contacts with ETs somewhere in the fall, the late fall, early winter, somewhere around there.
That's interesting. That's what's going to happen, and it's been moved back from late summer into fall. So that's very interesting, and it's interesting to me that it's going to be. I think in your newsletter and in the book you say that it's happening in Eastern Europe, and it is the Russians. Why do you think that the Russians, as a culture here on Earth, were selected as the ones who would sort of open up the window?
Well, first of all, the Russians are used to their KGB, which is not called that now. Somebody can tell me what it is, but I can't. They're used to their KGB having all these secrets, and so that's no big deal to them. And also keep in mind, with the way they were shut off from contact with the West for so long, they don't. They weren't so brainwashed as we were by our government about the fact that ETs and UFOs don't exist. They're weather balloons. I mean, they've sold that story on us for over 50 or 60 years or better. So that's the Russian people just seem to be a little more open to things like that, and it seems that's why it's going to happen there first.
I think this is going to be a very interesting fall then and winter, thinking of the ramifications that'll follow that event. Tom, where does Antura tell you that the human race actually came from? How did we get started here on this planet?
Well, it was certainly a lot earlier than our records show. I mean, it actually started a minimum of like a million or more years ago, maybe more than that. And so all of our souls, as I mentioned, came from other planets. One of the connections that I have with Antura, besides the fact that he's a member of my soul cluster, is the fact that I also came from this water planet in the Sirius B Star System. And we started having lives in that system, or on that water planet, 18 million years ago, and we were newcomers because there are societies in the Sirius B Star System that are over 1 billion years old. Okay, wow. So we were really new kids on the block, and I was told that I was one of the very first souls to have a life on this water planet, and then when it came time to start this Earth experiment, I was one of the very first souls to have a life on Earth. So I seem to like to stand at the head of the line, which my wife is always complaining about.
Let me ask you a question. When these souls from all over the universe said, yeah, we'll sign up for that, we'll go to Earth and be part of that experiment, do you think that you knew that it was going to be this veiled consciousness and have to do with negativity and all that? Or do you think was any of that known in the very beginning? Was that the purpose of the Earth experiment?
Oh, yes. I mean, everything was absolutely known, what we were getting into. Our souls designed everything. Parallel lives, timelines, that we have, where we have 12 parallel lives going on at the same time. Everything was designed, us being veiled so that